All right, ladies and gentlemen. so, there's been a bit of drama that's actually been happening. It's not really drama. It's just whatever, right? Discussion back and forth between various Paladin content creators and top tier Paladin players and streamers and so forth. Specifically, it's me, Hello Tello, and this is Hello Tello's channel, by the way. I check them out for decent Paladin information every now and then. And of course, me, Peaceblade, Hello Tello, Sky from the Comeback Kids are all basically punching each other in the face back and forth over on the Season of Discovery PTR forums. Basically, I was shocked to find out that these three were kind of in agreement that they wanted Paladins to have some kind of gap closing mechanic given to them. And I'm sitting over there looking at the situation going, we don't need it, bro. I mean, if anything, we have too many gap closers right now as Paladin. We can catch people a little bit too easily. Um, and I've been trying to identify the sentiment specifically, or the actual argument behind what they're saying is. So I know I can get up off my butt and actually show a bunch of duels, proving empirically that we have plenty of catch mechanics. We're perfectly fine. I could make videos showing you mathematically and logically distances, like cast times, tempo, all that stuff, to show that we're not having problems whatsoever. But that's kind of a hilarious and colossal waste of time if I can just identify what the logic throughput is and engage it at that point. But I basically feel like I have. So I woke up this morning. I didn't look at any of my comments. I got a fair few. I saw there was a new Tello video out that he posted within like 2 hours, so I checked it out. And I was like, oh, I want to scroll over to the new item, which seems to be giving us basically like a human skeleton summoning pet that can level up, which is actually pretty Chad, and it's a relic. I'll talk about that in a second. But as I was scrolling to find it, I saw this. And this right here is my post. And I'm like, I don't know what he said about it so far, but I'll make this video first and not poison the well on the subject, basically. All right, so let's talk about this item really fast here. This is actually not the worst thing in the world from a game design perspective, and I'll explain why. So, Paladins for years have been using essentially double skeletons pet summoning. It's difficult to get your hands on, but you can do it. So basically, there's a book that drops an offhand tome from Onyxia that allows you to summon a skeleton pet every 15 minutes, I do believe. And this pet has 4,800 HP. He does like 150 DPS. And he's a bit faster than normal. He's actually a mob in the open world, which if you don't know have like 15% increased movement speed. And he's both, more importantly, you can buff him and you can heal him, which is terrifying. And so the way you use him is if you're about to get feared or you're about to get sheeped by a warlock, you put this damn skeleton pet out there, and you either put Blessing of Freedom on him, or usually you put Blessing of Sacrifice on him. And what it means is, yes, the hunter can put you in an ice cube. The warlock can fear you. The mage can sheep you, but they can't really kill this. They can't touch the summoning pet without breaking out of the sheep or the ice block. And in Warlock's case, it's just such a tanky little turd that's punching them in the dick the entire time. Usually put freedom on the skeleton pet versus a warlock. So the warlock's going for a fear. You throw out the skeleton pet, you put freedom on him, and you get feared into oblivion. But the skeleton pet goes over there, starts punching the warlock in the dick. It stops the warlock from being able to run away to eat and drink and reset the fight, which is effectively what they want to do. And you can use it as like an anti-fear trinket. Um, if this is what that is on like a 2-minute cooldown, highly suggested that Blizzard make it. Well, you can. How do I put this? The game's coding already has it so that you can't have more than one summon out at a time. So, for example, if I summon Defender of the Timber Maw, which lasts 30 seconds, I can't summon a skeleton pet for 30 seconds. If I summon a skeleton pet, which lasts a minute, I can't summon a Timbermaw for a minute. And it doesn't matter if the Timbermaw explodes, within 10 seconds, or the skeleton pet dies within 5 seconds. You just can't do that. But there's a world where you might just have too many summons as a paladin. Literally, you're like, oh, I'll summon human, I'll summon skeleton, I'll summon another skeleton, I'll summon human again. You're just like, what the balls? So if that is what this is, I both approve of it. It's fine. It doesn't. It's a good addition to the game. Very flavorful. If I can use skeleton summons in conjunction, or bridge the gap of the cooldowns, then it might not be the best thing in the world, to be perfectly honest. You might want to cause using this thing to also put the skeleton pets on CD, like literally activate like their 15-minute CD. Other than that, very interesting, very fascinating. All right, let's get to the heart of the matter. So what started all this was Tello made a video saying that he felt that Paladins needed gap closers. And so I made a video saying, please, dear God, and a post, please, dear God, do not give Paladins any more gap closers. They're perfectly fine where they are. And Tello said that he talked to Peaceblade, and Peaceblade agreed with him. So I bothered to ask Peaceblade his sentiments. And I put up the post, and I've read the posts. And I've talked to Sky about it a bit. The general sentiment that seems to be reflected on the post, and is the same from Peaceblade here, which is the fact that they're giving all kinds of gap closers to other classes, but they're not giving them to Paladin. Literally, I have multiple posts on the thread that are like, priests have this, priests have dispersion, rogues have shadow step, hunters have, they're flinging traps at you. Shamans can project their totems out, so they got like 2 CCs now, and they got freedoms and faster movement speeds and all that stuff. On the surface level, this seems like good logic, but it's actually a logical fallacy if you start examining it with any real scrutinized detail. This is not to say that Okay, I want to make it clear, the people who said this stuff are not stupid. Lord knows I've made logical fallacy mistakes like this in the past. And I could have very easily fallen into this logical fallacy as well. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, I have fallen into this logical fallacy in the past as well. When they gave them Shadow Step and damn it, what is it? Trap projectors for hunters. My first initial gut reaction was WTF. Why can't Paladins have something like this? When they nerfed Avenger Shield so that Druids could shapeshift out of it and it could be cleansed out of, like it wasn't an actual daze slow anymore, I felt that way. However, once your brain kicks in, what you should notice is that they're giving classes gap closers and get out of jail free cards that don't have the same toolkit, the baseline toolkit of a paladin. What's more is that they're giving warriors death grip, and they're giving shamans wolves and stuff like that. But they're also giving paladins like extra bubbles on like a 48-second cooldown timer. If you really think about it, right? They're giving you wings, which is also a defensive cooldown, assuming they fix the fact that it can be purged off you and you're still in forbearance, which is just fighting the horde. That's just absolutely unacceptable. The point is that they're giving paladins defensive survivability cooldowns, and they're giving other classes mobility and gap closing capabilities, right? And we might look enviously on what they're getting, but just realize that it's not like they have all the same toolkit we do, and they have all these mobility things as well. They have a completely different toolkit and completely different requirements. So, for example, warriors have like almost no real ability to heal themselves compared to a paladin. They don't have freedom compared to a paladin, even though they can do multiple charges and get out of snares that way. They can do a get over here now. So basically, they can do the kind of Death Knight play style where you suck some, where literally Death Knights don't have freedom, but they suck you to them and they slow you. And then it's like, yeah, I can't get out of this slow, but you can't get out of my slow, and you're in melee now, so you're just trapped here. What else is there to say? Right, but they don't have any of those defensive cooldowns. I basically said everything that I wanted to say. So when I look at Paladin and you're playing them properly, what I basically see is that the increase in defensive cooldowns suddenly frees up other defensive cooldowns to be used offensively. I'm scrunching my face while I say this, because this might be a difficult concept to understand, right? So it's like, well, if I have if I have Aura Mastery and I can heal myself, or I have Avenger Shield, which is technically a gap closer, suddenly I don't need Hodge Stun to heal myself anymore. So suddenly Hodge Stun becomes a effective gap closer. You might not think it's an effective gap closer at 10 yards, but she actually pretty much is. Other examples, better examples, would be Bubble. So if I have Divine Protection that I can rely on, and possibly Wings that I can rely on to get me through any good RNG lays from the enemy, meaning RNG, meaning you build your Paladin so you're not going to die against anything but good RNG coming out of the enemy. When the good RNG does come out of the enemy, you basically just roll your eyes and it forces out defensive cooldowns from you. In the past, that was your Whipper Root Tuber and possibly your Bubble that it would force out of you. But if Bubble's being forced defensively, that means you don't get to use it offensively. And Bubble is a gap closer, offensively speaking. Again, it's you might not think about it that way, but it really is. But if they give us a defensive cooldown like Aura Mastery or the new Divine Protection rune, suddenly I'm looking to use Bubble on a much more offensive manner as a Paladin. It's also important to realize that a lot of these classes that have these mobility increases do not have multiple lives in combat. So, for example, yeah, rogues do have Shadow Step, but they don't have Bubble, they don't have Bop, they don't have Divine Protection, they don't have Wings, they don't have Sacred Shield. All they can do is CC you and run away and sap you and heal to full that way. So they don't have multiple lives the same way Paladins have multiple lives, which means if they get any kind of dots on them, they're going to struggle. If they can't run away faster than normal in a straight line, they're going to struggle. It just is what it is. Warriors are literally in the same boat. They are a melee class whose principal weakness is that they can be CC'd and kited. And Blizzard and Season of Discovery are slowly removing that weakness from them, but that just makes them a Paladin, okay? That makes Warrior effectively a Paladin that has a much easier time getting physically on top of their opponent, but still does not have the multiple life bars that a Paladin has, right? When you're trying to kill a Paladin, man, you got to go through Divine Protection. That's basically you got to kill them first off, and then they're going to have Bubble, so that's an extra life. Then they're going to have Divine Protection. That's another life. If they were smart enough to use Divine Protection first, then they might be able to bridge themselves, because only on a 3-minute cooldown, to another Divine Protection, so that's another life. If they took Aura Mastery, or they use Avenger Shield defensively, or they use their trinkets defensively, they're sure as hell going to get another Divine Protection out of that. 50% damage reduction for 12 seconds on a 3-minute cooldown, causes forbearance. It's not the same animal is basically what I'm trying to point out. So yeah, so my gut reaction back in the day was to look at all the other classes with Envy. Why the hell are you giving hunters the ability to do this? Why can I not cleanse out of this frost trap that is now being shot off into Narnia at me? What are some of the other examples? Why are shamans so hypermobile now? They got they can do totem projecting, which means that one of their main weaknesses was they couldn't slow you past 12 yards. But now suddenly they're like, barfing their totems, their grounding totems out on you at like, the 30-yard range, 25, 30-yard range. And so you're like, what the hell is this? They gave Priest Dispersion, which is a defensive cooldown that Priest may or may not have needed. It really gives them mana. That's the really big thing. But I'm telling you guys right now that these things are basically the same, right? If you asked warriors, like literally, okay, let's put it to you this way, all right? Here might be a good way to look at it. So, if you gave the warriors option to either have Paladins bubble or to have what is essentially Death Grip, okay? Warriors, without exception, would take the bubble because they are painfully aware of how useful bubble would be as an offensive tool. They can't use it defensively, but they can sure as hell use it offensively, even though she's both, when she's used offensively, she's also technically defensively, because you push the button and it saves you like 50% of your life. It gets traded for an enemy's nuke, and you can also use it as anti-CC, and you get to sit on top of enemies and do absolute tons of damage. On top of that, they already have gap closers in their toolkit, so they don't need more gap closers, and they could really use a bubble, right? Conversely, Paladins have no gap closers in our toolkit, but we are absolutely swimming in defensive cooldowns. So if you gave Paladin the option of taking Death Grip as opposed to taking Bubble, we would probably take Death Grip over Bubble because we've already got Wings and Divine Protection and Blessing of Freedom and stuff defensively to work with. So in both cases, there's massive gaps in each class's toolkit. So I don't mind that there's a continuing overload into that maintains that gap effectively. Honestly, I wouldn't give up Bubble for Death Grip. Are you out of your damn mind? Maybe I'd have to really think about it. Would I give up Bubble for Death Grip? Would I give up Divine Protection for Death Grip? Now that's a better argument. Would Warriors give up Divine Protection for Death Grip? I don't think so because it doesn't get them out of CCs. But if you were asking them, would I trade you Bubble for Death Grip? They would take Bubble in a heartbeat. 100%. Like, not even a question. It's just way too useful, and they already have charges. Yeah, so you really don't need it. You really don't need it. Here's another argument to think about. So if they give Paladin, let's say Blizzard snaps their fingers and they give Paladin, as they are right now, a better gap closer. You're right back to classic World of Warcraft in the sense that Paladins are just better warriors. Like, at that point, a Paladin just becomes a better warrior. Like unironically. Like, imagine if Blizzard gave us, Warriors intercept ability. Like, here you go, here's a rune, it just gives you Warrior Intercept. It makes us better warriors. If they gave us, something stupid like Hamstring, something as simple and as benign as Hamstring on a Paladin, it would probably make us better warriors than warriors, is what I'm saying. So, yeah, so anyways, this is all very, very much, annoying me and pissing me off. Because I basically have three people whose intellect I respect trying to tell me that I'm possibly wrong. And the good news is I'm not arrogant enough to sit here and not consider it. The bad news is because I'm not arrogant enough to sit here and not consider it, it sends me into an intellectual tizzy. Basically going, am I right? Am I wrong? Are you guys sure about that? I'm pretty sure I'm right. Like, what the hell? Like a constant state of questioning whether I am correct or not. Because Peaceblade is a top PvPer. Like, 100%. He is a top PvPer. Yeah, so anyways, I'm rambling at this point. I'll end the video here, and Deus Will Boys.